So every seat will be decided on May 7. If you've worked it out, that means to get control of the council, a single party would need to win 28 seats. Today, the council is made up of 27 Labour members, 18 independents and 9 Greens. The council is therefore currently run as a Labour minority administration, so no one party has overall control. There are lots of local issues that generate headlines. Council tax rise here is going to be 4.95%, some of which is ring-fenced for adult social care. There are very big challenges in the rising cost of adult social care and in children's services. The council says it needs to find almost £12 million worth of savings this year. But what we're going to do is focus tonight on the issues that you've said are important to you and hear from some of the people on the panel who are actually standing in the elections. So I will introduce you shortly to the people here. I just want to reiterate what you've already heard. 1 Million Women and Girls team did start inviting people back in February and have worked so hard to reach out to organisers and candidates from all of the parties. Last week we heard that Reform UK aren't joining us, and the Conservatives will also not be able to put up a speaker. As your independent chair, it's my job not to speak for any party. However, I do think it helps the debate if I can point to policies or plans that Reform or the Conservatives have put into the public domain that are relevant to your questions. I should say that none of the candidates here have seen the exact questions in advance. Some of them haven't even seen anything. And finally, I want to say that tonight is going to be informative, insightful, hopefully fun. And to that end, we've asked everybody to abide by the Joe Cox Civility Code. So please be civil, constructive, and respect those that you disagree with, however passionately. That doesn't mean that you can't cheer, applaud, stamp your feet, clap, laugh, whatever. That will be very acceptable. So, I'm joined this evening by, from the end, Ellie, who's from the Liberal Democrats, will introduce herself shortly, Sue, from the Greens, and with a whole 3 minutes notice, we've got Faye from the Labour Party. We were hoping to hear from Ruth Berkeley. She may be on her way, we don't know. But I'm so grateful, Faye, for you stepping in, and I'm sure everyone will make allowances for your shortage of preparation time. So let's start with people introducing themselves. We'll start with Sue.
Good evening. I'm honoured to stand for a re-election in the town I was born in, and was delighted to have this opportunity to be involved in the webinar. So thank you, Joy, and thank you to 1 Million Girls and Women. As a child, I witnessed the domestic abuse of a school friend's mother, and it stayed with me for all of my life, really. It was very much a man's world then. It was very much a man's world then, and you know, hopefully life has moved on, but it hasn't moved on, not with domestic abuse, and I'll explain as I go along. I would ask all women to be involved in you know, themselves in the basics of politics and see how their town needs their help. Joining the party, hopefully the Green Party, and discuss the issues in your area is really, really important. A lot of the answers I'm going to give tonight are the result of listening to our residents. I have a monthly surgery at Whist. The reason being, I want to provide a confidential space for women to discuss issues, and thanks to Joy, it was granted. During my last term, people complained about provision for children's play. Now this was all down to women and their families who wanted to improve their area. So basically we got match funding and we improved the area and have a beautiful play park. And that's down to yourselves. So this is why it's so important to be involved in things and open your mouths and be heard. Okay? So we have meetings with residents, police, council officers, etc. to control antisocial behaviour in the area. And it was down to the people, the families, to actually mention who they had seen, descriptions, that type of thing. So again, it was down to yourselves to be proactive and help us. And we have managed to get quite a few people, arrested, evicted, whatever. But it's very much down to ourselves to be involved. Okay? So we are progressing and we'll have a long way to go. So thank you.
Kelly, you're next up. Tell us why you're here.
Yeah, thank you. So as you've already heard, there are no Liberal Democrats currently on South Tyneside Council, but it is a mission of Liberal Democrats across the North East that we want to make sure we can have representation for everyone. So I have come from Durham. I'm a Durham County Councillor. I was newly elected last year for the first time ever. And I'm certainly a product of an incredibly strong female household because my mum's been in local politics for a really long time, so I've had that positive influence, and I'm one of the really lucky new generation that has come from that and has been involved from a ridiculously young age, to be honest, because I took a passion for it. So I've been kind of involved in community politics and passion for those sort of local community issues that, as the Lib Dems, that's what we stand for. We are very much grassroots, community first, since I was about 11. And it took them until last year to persuade me to stand for election, and I got elected at 27. So I think I brought the average age down of the council by quite a fair few years as well. But it was something we're incredibly proud of, and our team is now an even split of men and women, so we have a full representation in terms of gender balance, which is something we're really proud of. But I am quite proud to say that someone who's quite new and has a passion for issues that affect every area of the North East, that I was trusted to go straight into police and crime panel to hold the police and crime commission to account, and involved a lot of stuff that's come through there as a women issue so far. And I was really lucky that I've been put on as the deputy shadow portfolio holder for our group for adults services, adult wellbeing health services, which again I've heard is something that's an incredible pressure on local government. So I'm proud of that, and hopefully we'll be able to give a bit more of an insight of what, as the Lib Dems, would love to see across the North East, and that does include the South Tyneside.
Thank you very much. Faye, that's what it will just come on. I'll give you an extra 5 minutes now to think about it. So would you like to tell us what?
I will, and I'll start. I'm 4'11". I'll always look forward to WIST. I think things that WIST do in the community, particularly for women and for young women, and I know Sue's very much involved in the Green Party. They are very much involved. It's something that we work together to do. People think politicians are in each other's thoughts all the time. Can I say that I count Sue, one of my Green colleagues, as a good friend. I know she knows I'll have her back, she'll certainly help mine. And I think that is the way forward, certainly. About me, I was a local government officer from 1974, so you can work out how old I am. And I started off as a temporary typist, and I rose to be the Mayor's Secretary for 19 years. That sowed the seed of politics. That sowed because I've grown up in a very, very conservative family. I don't know what my mum would think now, seeing me standing here with me red jumper on. I didn't appropriately dressed and I didn't even know so. Joined the Labour Party, stood as a straw candidate in Westall, didn't win, didn't expect to win. Then I was 8 years as a councillor for the Beach Ward in Jarrow. I didn't know the word what is our Shakespeare, Sandy, in Jarrow, but I was 8 years in Jarrow. I lost my seat to an independent and I retired, also I felt. Born in Colliery 3 years ago, needed a candidate. I got a call the night before this election. Faye, will you come and do it? Oh, so I'm retired. Anyway, I did. And very happy 3 years. And can I say, one of which I actually became the mayor again. I am the only South Tyneside councillor from 1974 that's been there twice. And can I just say, it is incredible. You think you know it all. I thought I knew it all. I was an officer of the council, I'd been a councillor, but being the mayor, you find out particularly about our voluntary sector. And this town could not run without the voluntary sector. And I'm looking at the circles there. I expected Bright Futures to be here tonight. Oh, Bright Futures is here. I thought it would be very strange. So that's me. So I was there in England before, and I was going to retire and go happily off into the sunset. But each party needed 54 candidates. 54 Labour, 54 Green, 54 Reform, 54 Lib Dem, 54 Independent, and that is very, very difficult. And so I've come back out of retirement yet again. But it's the young people that we want, and I'm looking over there to those girls in the green and the girls in the Bright Futures, because they are our future and we must get the young ones interested. Come on, local government is not exactly a ribbon subject. It really isn't, but it can be, and I know Sue agrees with me. Because she was going to retire as well. Sorry, Sue, I'm speaking out of turn here. She's out of as well, feeling not a chance. When your heart is with your residents, when you are frightened what might happen in your ward, you get up there and you fight. You both want to take this off me. So that's me, and I'm really glad that it was stopped here actually. The only problem is deficit costs, so the people that ask the questions are like,
We'll make sure you're here. Thank you. Right, so let's crack on then. The first question is going to come from Karen. Where's Karen? Hello, Karen. Have you got the microphone? Just hold it for there you go.
I've been a carer to an adult social care user for about 7 years now, and I can see the pressure that social services are under. Unfortunately, I've also experienced grave failings in care to the person who I look after. Failings that I have the responsibility to make up for. It falls to me. And I have to supplement the case. How do you think the situation in social care provision and family responsibility can be improved?
Thank you very much, Karen. As a point of information, I looked at the council's budget. This financial year, there'll be a net cost of £83 million on adult social care. Let's start with Sue. There is clearly huge pressure on adult social care, and despite spending a significant amount of money, council is failing. Why is it failing?
It's failing because our private companies already own 22% of national MPs delivering services such as urgent care, elective surgeries and diagnostics, and outsourcing contracts for services like mental health patient support. Now this is a big one, and I do appreciate that, we haven't got the staff. Why is that? We haven't got the staff. For the simple reason, we need more investment, and it's a case of we don't have the care staff. We need care staff so that they can look after elderly people, they can look after disabled, but unfortunately it's passed on to the immediate family to look after. Now this is not right, but there is a shortage of 150 staff in the care sector and 4.7 million unpaid carers. The Green Party will push MPs for 20 billion to introduce free personal care, fully funded, and it's the same as the Scottish government. Now I have family in Scotland, and I can witness that this does happen, and it's very, very well looked after. People need personal care in the morning, at night, whatever, and they get that. And it's done with complete dignity,
We'll come back to the questions in a sec, because I just want to bring in Ellie at the moment. Ellie, your leader, national leader, Eddie, has made a huge play on personal care and providing carers with their own special minimum wage. I've just told you what the potential deficit is here in South Tyneside. How do you square that circle?
Yeah, so it's really close to the heart of the party because it's his life as well. He has to do exactly the same as a carer. One of the first things that's really big for Liberal Democrats is understanding that this pressure is put onto local government, but local government is not funded correctly, but they somehow have to find this shortfall, and it's completely unacceptable. And for years, unfortunately, it's been hit in the North East so much harder than it ever hit local governments in the South. So one big thing is continuing to push for fair local government funding to ensure that the taxpayers are not the ones picking up the shortfall on the services that have to be provided and are necessary. And something that we do share in common with the Green Party, as we just heard, is we do believe in free personal care. We want to implement a system very similar to that of Scotland, based on their system, that covers personal care, things from washing, dressing, medication, things like this, everyday life. Regardless of the ability to pay, it will be available to all, and it's about need, not accessibility to pay. And we also appreciate that the staffing costs are a huge part of this, and often it's left on the paid carers. So we also want to say something in the local government that we can proactively change, and a greater move towards independent living, to alleviate some of the pressures on the staff to help those who need it, who need this higher level of care and the slightly more vulnerable. And this is why a proactive and preventative approach, which isn't always adopted in local government because it's up to each authority. So this push towards allowing greater independence to help prioritise staff as well.
Can I just jump in there, because both of you now talked about extra funding, Greens talked about it, Independents talked about it, we'll come on to Labour in a minute. Do you think people here are actually willing to pay more money to provide that extra funding? Isn't that kind of elephant in the room?
No, I completely agree. And no, the taxpayers' bills are taxes going up every year. I don't think there's anyone who isn't going to say tax increase each year, which again comes back to proper funding for local government, fair funding for local government, which is central to what our party believes in. We are community champions first and foremost. It's the reason you see us more locally than we do nationally, because it's what matters. And so this is why the Liberal Democrats will consistently keep calling for correct funding of local government, because that's where the pressure lies. It's not fair to keep putting taxes up to feel something that's a statutory
scientific, because you're all self-selecting, you all just really to give up some time that tonight, but 2% of the increase in the council tax here is specifically for adult social care. Who's willing to pay it? Really thinks that's too much. Hands up if you think that's a reasonable way forward. A 2% ring-fenced part of the budget for adult social care. If you're comfortable with that. Very obviously, hands up if you're not comfortable with it. Brave. Yeah. Okay. So, Karen, what, when it comes to labour and sector, what do you feel about the 2% that the council has agreed to ring fence specifically for some of the issues that you're raising in your question?
Just doesn't feel like it's going to come anywhere close to fixing the problem. The reason that we handed it up being to the 2% ring fence and the £83 million deficit doesn't seem to match up.
And can you tell us what kind of things are that you've noticed as being lacking that you think you've had to make up for in your own work?
Very much like you said, private care companies, carers, the person who I'm talking about could have 16 different carers a week. And you don't get any kind of relationship there, so you're not going to want to let somebody help you with your personal care when you don't know who they are and the strangers coming in your house. And I think there is an expectation on specifically women to pick up that care burden. And when you have a full-time teacher, have 3 children, there isn't likely to be more hours in the day, but there's not.
Say everybody's nodding, listening to that. We've already heard how much money the local authority is spending on adult social care, but they're not doing it well enough to satisfy people like Karen. Why not?
Well, why not? I've obviously haven't had time to think about this or get statistics, and I will impress soon. South Tyneside Council, we are just about the smallest metropolitan borough in the country. And for the last 14 years, we have been ruthlessly, and not just South Tyneside, but I think there are 317 local authorities in England, and almost every one of them are in deficit. And I think that must be about the first time ever that every local authority is struggling and is in deficit. We have lost 60% of our funding. 60% in 14 years for a small authority like ours. It is just, we 2%, you're absolutely right, it doesn't even touch it. But we have to try and balance the books as best we can, and we have to try and do what is fair and what our residents will accept. Whoever is in power in the town hall in May, they will have to fight and fight and fight. I know that we struggled, if I bring in the word, we were going to have to close the word on a Sunday because of funding. And there was an absolute outcry. The leader of the council, together with our Member of Parliament, Emma Book, went and pleaded with government, and they got extra money. I think it was, I'm not sure, it was a few million. It doesn't even touch what we need in this borough. We are a deprived borough. We have a high rate of unemployment. We have a high rate of older people. The things that we need to provide for our people, the money that we get now from the central government doesn't touch it. They've been in for 2 years. They can't wave a magic wand in 2 years. We have got to get over 14 years of being absolutely and ruthlessly stormed. And this is what all parties, we all have to start and fight for our own authority.
So Reform UK's national website, I couldn't find anything specific on social care, but in their 2024 general election manifesto, they said their main idea for adult social care in England is to set up a royal commission within the first 100 days of the new government. This would draw up a national plan for a sustainable system to support people who are older and disabled in the community. They agree that more funding is needed, but they also say that they recognise that care services rely on staff recruited from overseas. Reform UK says it will allow essential information, mainly around healthcare, but there is no specific mention of social care. And for completeness, I also watched Campaign Mark's election launch in these elections, which had no mention of social care, although previous policy documents, including ensuring that local authorities pay what's described as a fairer cost of care to private providers. So it's like the unfairly kind. I'm going to come back to you and say,
I could do this all night.
I can say to you, have everything you've heard, is anybody addressing the specific issues in South Tyneside that you could point to when it comes to social care?
I very much like the idea of the Scottish plan and having the ability for everybody to have access to personal care. But my concern is where the money comes from. If that's going to cost millions of pounds, millions of pounds, what else will supplement, which is probably going off track, but I don't know what the solution is. One thing I would say is I pay for my dad's care, and I see the difference between what his carers are being paid at minimum wage and what I pay to the council for his care. So there is a big gap there, and I don't know that that money is benefiting the people who it needs to be benefiting.
That's a direct challenge to me.
Sorry.
No, that's totally fine, that's what it is. What is the reason for Karen having to pay so much more to the council than is actually paid to people who are caring for a dad?
I honestly don't know. I don't know the answer to that. Sure, we can find out for you, so that you have to find out.
But if we looked at all of the people, and I'm sorry to put you on the spot, if we looked at all of the people who are accessing adult social care and all of those differences with the people who are paying for their own care, could that money be saved towards the deficit? Could it be used differently? Because it feels like it's not being cost.
We just have a letter that goes on paper adult social care saying that my grand's care in particular, she already pays a fortune, is going up by £88 a week in April. No choice in the matter. Apparently she's been getting this care all along, which is news to me. And in the back, there's in the tail was a sentence that said, we believe that those who can afford to pay for their care should pay more to cover those that can't. And I'm not against that principle in life, but when there's council members, South Tyneside council members, I'm not saying anyone in particular, having expenses through the roof for my grand who's living in a care home and us having to burn exactly the care like Karen's saying, I just don't feel like that money is being best spent. £4,500 a year for one person, and I'm sure it's better than more.
So do you want to respond?
Well, I totally agree. I think it's disgusting. We will have these private care homes who charge a fortune, and they use the same stuff. It's just absolutely obscene.
But the specific point about council expenses, which perhaps can contribute to keeping costs down.
I think a commission would probably be the answer, because there is money going left, right, and centre here, but it's not going to the resident, it's not going to the patient. So I totally agree.
Okay, we'll move on. Very much. Okay, so the next question is from Olivia. Where is Olivia?
I'm not Olivia, but that's okay. Olivia's not here, so I will ask a question on her behalf. So Olivia's question is, how would you make the streets safer for lone walkers, particularly at night, especially in certain parts of South Tyneside that lack reliable lighting?
Right, I'm going to start this one soon because I lighting, for example? What's the policy from the Greens on lighting?
Well, at the moment, to save money, the council turned down the lights. You know, it's a bad thing in various areas. It really is a bad thing because we don't have CCTV either, so that's a major problem. I would say that the council state they invest in community services. They need to invest in community services. Youth projects and public spaces to avoid ESB and social media. The Green Party restorative justice is to replace prison sentences with under 2 years with community-based programs and require offenders to repair damage. Now, I don't know how many people have said, God, if I got hold of another, I would make them repair that. I'd make them sort of, you know, put a door on, repair the damage they've done in vandalism, all that type of thing. That, you know, that's what we would want. Also, repair and review our crumbling court system with a 2.5 billion investment.
Okay, thank you. Any Liberal Democrats are actually normally in favour of kind of a bit more of a legal approach to personal freedoms. How do you feel about CCTV, for example, or extra lighting?
Yeah, so personal freedom is central to the party philosophy, but we do understand the need for protecting the public. We do, Lib Dems as a whole do argue for greater CCTV provision, particularly in areas where there does tend to be high crime rates, high antisocial behaviour. Street lighting, it's not a legal requirement for certain authorities to provide it, so it's usually the first thing we could, and it's never appropriate. So again, it's something that parks, public spaces, city centres, anywhere, it's something that we push for consistently. But alongside this is that what on a local government level people can do, because this is something that I've seen starting to happen in other authorities, and I say I've not come from South Tyneside, but I have seen this happening, is local councillors can work a lot closer with the police, and they can work, these relationships can get things to change. So for example, if we look at Counter Darling Police, which is the reference point I've got here, they are starting to roll out a new scheme that has come from a local government perspective and working with them, where we can use private CCTV dash cams, ring doorbell footage, can actually be gathered by the police and be used now. And again, this is something that will change from area to area, but it's not impossible, because it's starting to happen over there. Why doesn't that mean it can't happen across the whole of the North East and other authorities? And this is something local government people can work with the police closely to do, and work with them to make sure this is a priority, because we know we need police reform. That's going to take years, and these are things that we can do quickly and in our communities to try and increase this provision and to help. And the same with criminal justice reform as well, it's necessary. And no local authorities do not need to dim lights and do not need to turn them off. Not when public safety is at risk, not when we can do other things. And again, it does come back to the core of the Democrats as well, where we want to raise the local government funding. It's local government that has to provide the majority of services we feel every day. And so again, it will come from pushing for that kind of change as well.
Okay, please. Why turning down lights when people are concerned about their safety at night?
Money, money, money. We have to save. South Tyneside Council, I think it's 10 million we've got to save in the next year. And this is a council that's already absolutely stretched. With regard to security, I have the pleasure of going into our CCTV cameras room. Now, I can't tell you where it is, I'll have to kill you. Absolutely amazing. We've got cameras that right across all the three main town centres, Joe, Heaven and South Shields. They are linked to the police, they'll be there in seconds, and it's really very efficient. However, Bright Futures, the girls there, are the Metro Mayor we reclaimed the parks. Now still got me body blue, me pink bright futures I was going to put it on tonight. The young people are getting up and making themselves heard. They want to be safe, they want to feel safe, they want to be able to walk through their parks, they want to be able to go to the seafront and feel safe. And when you've got girls like Bright Futures with the mayor and the metal mayor who provide the t-shirts or the sweaters, and I think it's up to us. Yes, the council can put the cameras. Yes, they might be able to turn up the lights a little bit, but it's up to the community themselves. And I know we've got 30 here. These girls are what the work they do with unhealthy relationships. And I'm harping on again about the voluntary sector. The voluntary sector here in South Tyneside, what they do is amazing. What they do for our young people, what they do in our community centres. There's something second to none.
But hang on a sec, because isn't it probably the primary responsibility of local authority to keep its people safe? And if women are saying we're too frightened to go out tonight, that's not great, is it, in 2026?
Well, I would say it isn't just the local authority, it's the police. And we all wage on and say we don't have enough police on the beat. And I think that's something that all of the parties on the South Tyneside Council have complained about, and things are getting better. But you can't work miracles in 2 years. And the funding has gone up. And yes, we are getting more police on the beat, but not fast enough. And there's only so much that the council can do, because really people's safety is yes, it's a responsibility of the local authority, but it's much more responsibility of the police.
Okay. Yes, good.
Yes, I've been working with the police, fairground, people, the market traders, sort of thing. I've been working with the market traders, the fairground people, all of the various groups, the people on Ocean Road, the businesses on Ocean Road, and the market traders. And basically, we have come up with an idea. Do you remember the old neighbourhood watch that used to come up? You know, it was a policeman who used to go and visit the house, and there would be a couple of residents in there, and they would talk. Don't need to do that now. What happens is we have a situation where from the interchange, a neighbour or resident will contact and say, lots of people, lots of youths coming off the train down heading towards maybe the park. So that information will be fed through to the police and they will be ready for them. The people at the fairground also, they will sort of give intel, and as I say, it's one of those things where everything comes together and we're ready for these people. Now, a couple of years ago, we had 100 youths come into our North Marine Park, where I happened to be the chair. And so they came in, were burning benches, vandalising everything, sitting on the kids' sort of play areas, and the police were there within an instant. And they actually stopped all of that, made arrests, actually sent letters to the parents, which the kids were more worried about. Because when you're out, parents don't know where you are. But the police actually came after the letter was sent to the person's house. And there were arrests, there were evictions. We have also had to think, wait, if your parents are council tenants, and if you have, committed antisocial behaviour, then your tenancy is also at risk. So, and that has happened. Families have been evicted, okay, they've got community boards, all that type of thing. We all working together. The police, as they say, we would love to see more puppies on the beach, it would be lovely, but at the same time,
means no money. So we're taking it on ourselves now. We're more or less, working with people, working as a community, and we're getting results.
Thank you. Can we move on? Just because we've got a limited amount of time tonight. And what I think is a really important question here in South Tyneside, which comes from Elaine.
My question is, how do we encourage more women and girls to stand for election when political spaces increasingly feel unsafe for us? In areas like South Tyneside, debate is often dominated by a handful of loud, hostile male voices who bully, intimidate and spread misinformation online. Women are often targeted in ways men rarely are, criticised for things like taking maternity leave or attacked over their appearance. What needs to change so women feel able to step forward in public life?
I did ask you before, so I hope this is okay. I wonder what prompted you to ask this question.
Excellent question. So it's worth saying I work for a political party. It's my day job. I work for the Green Party within Queens. One of my roles is to encourage more people from marginalised communities, more women and girls, more global majority people to come forward and step into public life. Being involved in South Tyneside in politics has been really rough at times. There are some spaces online which are absolutely disgusting. One of the things I probably asked this was because one of my friends, who's a counsellor, was actually doxxed online about a week ago, so her home address was put online and with threatening language against it as well, being reported to the police and being investigated. But things like that, I see the direct impact that has on people, on women, who are increasing risk. You mentioned at the start, we needed 54 candidates for this election. It's really increasingly difficult to get women, and particularly young women, to stand for election, and we really need more women's voices. And as someone who's a working class lass from South Shields, working in national politics now, which I'm really proud of, actually I see it as like a responsibility to try and help make places safer, and to get more people to stand. So that's what motivated us to ask the question. So particularly, we seem to have a really awful problem with it, and I fear it's just going to get worse.
Thank you very much.
Yes, it
Why are you taking for that? I did a quick kind of scooch around social media in South Tyneside, and without taking sides in any way, I was genuinely shocked by some of the things that I saw, some truly vitriolic stuff posted online. So let's just do a quick yes/no question to start off with, and then we'll dive into some of the issues that raises. So, one sentence answer, please. Then I'll start with you. Would you advise young women to get into politics?
100%. I'm a young woman in politics. We have to have support. Exactly.
One sentence, yes or no. Do you understand reluctance?
Yes, I would say, of course, young women, it's their future. They need to be in politics. But again, it's about coaching as well. And it's about support all 100% of the way.
Faith, one sentence.
One sentence.
No, I'm really straight through, but I'm more time later on.
One sentence. The only way forward is to get our young people involved. How, particularly when a lady has pointed out what she has, it can be rough. You've got to be tough.
Well, okay, let's stick with that thought, because it seems, based on this very limited amount of research, that South Tyneside Council has been, perhaps some would say, disproportionately affected by internal rivalry, disputes, former leader from your party was had allegations of bullying which were upheld. There was a discussion about changing the culture of the council. Do you think that has changed? I mean, it doesn't sound like it, but
The culture is changing. It hasn't changed completely. Definitely from my time from being an officer when things were very gentlemanlike and ladylike, and then we dissolved into this awful time that we had. I think times are changing for the better. Definitely. I certainly, as a Labour councillor, can work quite comfortably with my opposite numbers, and so I do, especially with independents, with no difficulties at all. And quite honestly, if we're honest about this, I think that the future will definitely be that there will be more inter-party working within South Tyneside Council.
I'm going to come on to that in a minute, but like, do you think people are now calling out in front of the men bad behaviour, intimidating behaviour, bullying when they see it?
Most definitely it is in their head, but I think women are definitely not putting up with it like they used to.
Can I just
Yes.
mention one of the leaflets that I found, in which there wasn't your particular ward, but they described your green opponents as nice people, but their policies are completely unrealistic and not grounded in reality. It's a bit patronising, isn't it? Nice people, but I mean, why can't you just talk about the policy rather than the people?
I think if you read most of the literature that's been put out, you'll find that patronising sort of talk that there is. Unfortunately, some of the leaflets that I have read, I actually cringe because they're absolutely awful.
They are very senior person in the party, generally. So, you've been around. Can you not kind of, can you not sort of stamp on it?
It is, if it was just one party, yes you could, but it isn't. It's right across the sector.
That's keeps bringing the breeze. Why is this culture still apparently putting off people taking up positions on the council?
Because I think when people attend chamber on the monthly meetings where the public are invited, I think it's a case of there aren't enough stringent, there aren't enough rules, or there aren't enough people to enforce the discipline that's needed in the chamber. And this goes a long way down. But we are coming to a situation where now it has never been known that so much hate is in the community, and so much hate is in politics. We really need to crack down. And I do believe that, there should be people there to say, right, that's it. If you are in a shop and there's behaviour, there are people there to say, right, that's it, out now. There should be people to say these people out the door, but they're not, and they're being allowed. So therefore it goes on and on and on. So yes, I believe we should have more discipline. And the people who are doing it are middle-aged, forgive me guys, but they are men and they're middle-aged. And they bawl and they shout, and it's just not appropriate.
Okay, let's just pull it back a bit. Ellie, obviously you bring a perspective from this slightly different region. Do you recognise that women's voices are suppressed by angry shouting men?
Oh my gosh. I'm a young woman, I'm in politics, I'm elected on 2 different elected on parish council and a county council, and I think I might possibly have had the worst first day of anyone on record manage the parish council, and I was wearing a shirt up and all the way up, and I was told, well, you've got too many buttons done up. Is that acceptable? No. The first day in the county council. If anyone knows Durham, it's ran by please. I'm really more for your sake. That you don't end up in a situation like us, because they immediately started to attack us. And on the first day, it was a week of Durham Pride, and they removed the pride flag. So I went and got the one that was in my car, held it up, had to run away when they came out. The next thing I knew, I made the press. 2 days later, 15,000 hideous hate comments directed at me for holding a pride flag. It's the first day of my job on both of those situations. It's unacceptable. But what I would really love to know is why I will never hear the Liberal Democrats calling out that the Equalities Act is under attack, and why on earth misogyny is not classed as a hate crime. Please explain to me why that's not I would really love that you said cross-party work. It's all about jobs to ensure that we fight for that.
Can I just say, please, I think the situation has got much, much worse because of social media. Certainly within the council chamber, councillors from every party used to treat each other with much more respect. Since social media and since the council meeting it is the only meeting of the council that is televised and actually goes out on YouTube, and some of the parties, not yours too, some of the parties play to the gun, and their behaviour is disgraceful. I was the mayor just 18 months ago. When I was the mayor 10 years ago, I was treated with utmost respect, total respect. This time around, it was hell on earth. It was really, really bad. It was very difficult to control. And as Sue said, there's only one person who can control it, and that's the mayor. And if people are disrespecting the mayor, you haven't got a hope.
Okay, and so I'm going to make a suggestion. Everybody here tonight has been incredibly civil and polite, and it's a constructive debate, and everybody is operating under the Joan Cox pledge. Could you suggest to your authority that every single member signs the Joan Cox Unity pledge?
I think that would be an excellent idea. However, every councillor, when they accept that position, signs a declaration that they will uphold the code of conduct for local authority councillors. And I'm afraid that part of the movement, but there are no teeth in law to correct that. So yes, it's signed in a fancy book, but really it's quite meaningless, because when it comes down to it, if a council really oversteps the mark, they refer to the standards committee. It takes months for it all to go through, and there's no teeth at all to reprimand any councillor that steps out of line.
Right, and that's really excellent question, so Elaine, what would you like to see that would lure you or young women back into local politics, particularly here in Saturday?
Thank you. It's really difficult because it's like the Wild West. I think the stuff that you talk about in the council chamber, but it's the mayor's discretion is how they deal with stuff. I think there needs to be a zero tolerance approach, and there's far too much pandering and giving too much space. Some of the behaviour is absolutely disgusting. It just needs to be just get out, it just needs to be zero tolerance. And I think if that was enforced across the board, things would hopefully, become a bit better. But like I say, I'm really concerned that some of the candidates standing this time for independent and also reform as well, particularly, but not exclusively, things are not going to get better. They're going to get a whole lot worse. And it's just to the detriment of the entire borough, because nothing's that they, for vendettas and personal grudges. So yeah, I can't answer your question. I think just a zero tolerance approach to it needs to happen, and I think people need to be stronger and clearer.
Thank you very much. I want to broaden the issue out to beyond just in the internal operation of the local authority, because we've been talking about divisions within council and councillors. So now let's have a broader question about division within the community, and that's going to come from Amy.
Hiya. The question that was posed by an attendee is, recent social tensions in South Tyneside have had negative impacts on the lives of women and girls. What are you going to do to encourage unity and not division?
Thank you very much. So I just want to give you a few facts and figures, because I love facts and figures. Hate crime offences in South Tyneside rose by 2.4% last year, 12 months leading up to November 2025. These include harassment, physical abuse, property damage, motivated by hostility based on race, religion, sexual orientation, disability or transgender identity. As we've already heard, it's not a statutory hate crime to be based on such abuse, so that isn't included in those figures. Sue, let's start with you, and we want to focus on some really practical things that can happen to make South Tyneside feel like a more cohesive group, and particularly for women.
Well, I certainly think that women should be respected more, and a zero tolerance with this argument, which should be able to make that for them. I also think that women should be, if they're going into politics, they should be trained properly, not just left.
For the wider community, what sort of things would you like to see that improves the kind of feeling for women in particular who've been affected by division?
Certainly training, they could have regular training, counselling, type of thing.
I suppose what we're trying to talk about is some of the issues which make women feel sort of ostracised or left out or too frightened to participate in local events. What might be done with that? Shall we give it a think?
Yeah, so a lot of this, it starts when you're young. It's got to start from a very basic point. Why can't it start in school? Politics is a filthy word now. It's a dirty word, and we learn that from like being this high. It starts in school, and that's where I'm really, I had the local authority where I grew up worked with local schools and really worked hard to make sure that politics was respected. And it wasn't across the whole area, which is what breaks your heart. It's got to start in schools. But also, it's not the only place where we're responsible for it. We've become such an intolerant society. We've become such a reactionary society. And we'll have to sort of make sure that it starts within the education system so that it cannot grow into hatred and it cannot grow into division, because that's all that ruins our society. We've got to celebrate our communities, and that includes working with the local authorities, working with schools, working with the voluntary sector, working with our social groups and our community groups to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to get involved in whatever level that they want to. And that's where all of this cross-sector working comes in, and make sure that you have people that will build those relationships and point you in the right direction when someone needs it. You can't expect one person to do it all. You can't expect one system to do it all. It's got to work together. And so again, like I say, starts in the education sector, but recognise that it's absolutely fine to work with partners that already exist. We've got some of them in the room today, and every we've got to stop making it seem like it's one against the other and realise we work as partnerships.
Okay.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Education. It starts in the schools and on the board of governors of Asian primary school. I think it's about 50-50 Bangladeshi and other children. And the respect starts there. I think we have in this ward particularly a high number of Bangladeshi families who work for the women. They work through Abnegar, which is a women's charity, who do a massive amount of work. I think they work here with WIST, and also with other ethnic charities and the voluntary sector. And I think our mosques in this ward have started to open up. There has been council visits. We regularly go down to the mosque and just learn about each other's cultures. And I think it's just respect, it's understanding, not just for women, but just for the whole community, but women particularly. And I think it's so important that we do work together and we respect each other, and that should start in the council chamber.
Let's just pause there, just for completeness once again. Reform UK has pledged to replace the Equality Act, arguing it promotes positive action as discriminatory, and it also proposes a comprehensive free speech bill to stop what they describe as left-wing bias and cancel culture. The Conservatives, on the schools point that has been made, in a recent speech, Kenny Baylock said, teachers, lecturers, public servants and employers must be able to state basic facts and teach a coherent national story and uphold standards. She also wants to see an overhaul of the Equality Act. There's so much more we could say about that, but I really want to squeeze in 2 more questions. I'm now going to ask you, please, if you wouldn't mind keeping your answers as brief as possible, because they're 2 great questions and I really want to get through them. So the first one is going to come, I think, from Louise. Hi, Louise.
So I work for Impact Family Services, and my question is, the government's violence against women and girls strategy aims to tackle domestic and sexual violence, yet crisis intervention services supporting these victims are not being commissioned in our area. How should the council tackle the issue with both statutory and voluntary sector agencies going forward? And can you also tell me when will South Tyneside have a refuge for women and children fleeing domestic abuse, please?
Right, I think that's in this area, 5,103 domestic abuse incidents were reported to the police in the last year. There are figures for, and 3/4 of those were reported by women. So why is there not a refuge for women and children fleeing domestic abuse here? Well, the question hasn't been
Well, it is. That has been for 2 years. It is. I know this is first properties, but it's not one open at present. It's not.
But it used to be on our water.
Yeah.
Yes.
There hasn't been one for 2 years.
It was closed when we withdrew the centre from impact, and people are dispersed properties now, but I think they're not planning a new refuge, but it's not open yet.
So,
Yeah, but the other thing is with the dispersed properties, obviously the vineyard wants back, so they haven't got that security within the refuge.
So, do you think that's an acceptable position not to have something within?
absolutely not. I'm absolutely gobsmacked that that's actually happened. Because the women's refuge on Lower Road was a block away from where I live, and so I know the work that they did and support it very much indeed. In fact, one of our residents support that because it's absolutely vital.
Sue, if you're called upon to go into coalition, depending on how the vote pans out, would you make providing a refuge a condition of coalition?
Yes, I certainly would. Yes,
And do you think your party would?
I'm sure I would. Yes, it's total respect for the human being, you know, and we need to have some support for these people. It could be your child, it could be my child. You don't know. It's, you know, things happen. We definitely need support for refugees.
And is there a concept on the moving?
Yeah, it's I think, like you just said, it's central to anyone who believes in truth, justice, equality, things like that. And there will be people in South Tyneside who have the opportunity to vote for the Liberal Democrat, and when you pass there, there's no doubt in my mind they were not that central to what we believe in. It's a non-negotiable. They would absolutely agree with that as well. And I can see them shaking their head in this room because I can see one of your candidates, and yeah, it's a non-negotiable. But in terms of, again, I can't speak for South Tyneside, but speaking for the Liberal Democrats as a whole, it's a non-negotiable as well. But one place we would start as well is ensuring the criminal justice process treats them fairly as well.
Big job because it's not happening.
And it's absolutely unacceptable. I can't speak for the local authority providing refuges, but that's something that you would get support on 100%. It would include, and this is something the local authority has to work with, mandatory training for police, 100%. Mandatory training for prosecutors. It doesn't end at police, it's got to go all the way to the top. Mandatory training for prosecutors everywhere. Understanding the impact of trauma on these survivors and understanding compassion, because that is often put at the bottom of the list and it absolutely shouldn't be. It doesn't mean you have to separate from fairness. So this is one of the really big policies that as a party as a whole, you'll meet any Liberal Democrat and they'll tell you the same thing. It's a non-negotiable for us.
Thank you very much. I just want to point out that according to the Cabinet here last year, South Tyneside continues to have the highest rate of domestic abuse in the Northumberland police force area. For completeness, yet again, the Reform UK policy on domestic violence, they don't actually have a specific policy about it, but they talk about strict enforcement and immigration control, which they believe will improve them. And in Kent, where Reform UK councillors were reported to have voted down a motion for plans to tackle violence against women regarding it as virtue signalling. The Conservatives point to the Domestic Abuse Act, which came into force in 2021 under a Conservative government, which guarantees that all survivors will be in priority need for housing. So I suppose if there was something in the press, if that's happening. Right, I'm really sorry, I'm powering ahead because this is such an important question. It's the last one. So, at first I thought this is quite entertaining, and then I looked into it and thought it's not very entertaining at all. So it's going to come from Jackie. Hello. Have you got your question?
Yes. My question is very basic. What should the council do about safe access to public toilets? For example, there's no public toilet at all in the relatively new interchange, which is the end of the levee. Women and children get off the train, go to seaside all the time, no toilets.
Can I just have a little speed discussion along? I think it's right to say that the council has said providing toilets specifically at the interchange would be the responsibility of the Nexus. But is it not possible to get together with Nexus and reach some agreement on providing some rules?
I can't imagine that the new, relatively new interchange that Nexus then would then put a hand in their pockets and provide toilets. The nearest toilets are across King Street and up, going up towards this building, but they're not all
home 24/7. Never go back in. Yeah, not particularly accessible for people getting off their trains.
They're not home 24/7. I think the nearest public toilets to those are actually in the marketplace, but I think they again are just open certain times, certain days,
So
as the word.
has the council talked to Nexus about putting some toilets in?
I honestly can't see. I cannot imagine, but in all honesty, I cannot imagine council having that dialogue with Nexus.
Why not?
Because the two separate, they may well have, like talked at the top of the head, they may well have had this dialogue. I can't imagine it, quite honestly, because Nexus they have a provision to make. I don't think Nexus has toilets in any of the member states.
Yes, they do.
Do
North
they?
Street, Falling and East.
Right, what do they do?
They can't put any in the changing shields because when the milk place didn't actually put the pipework in because it was supposed to be, somebody forgot to do it. I was
So obviously quite a constant topic in this, and it seems that we've been talking a lot about partnerships this evening, about working together more effectively with different parties, with the voluntary sector. This would seem to be an obvious partnership to be able to get some toilets into the end of the line. Do you think that's something you might take back?
I'd certainly support Sue and I would take that.
And Sue, it's not currently, according to the British Toilet Association, I believe but it is not currently a statutory responsibility as overall government to provide toilets.
Yes, let's face it, it's a health and safety issue. I mean, people have all sorts of conditions. They need toilets, they need clean toilets, they need brightly lit toilets, and this is not coming. As I say, the toilets that we have, they're inadequate. We have to rely on the word, that type of thing for school. It's just not wrong. People of all ages suffer with incontinence, prostate cancer, Crohn's disease, etc. They need them more frequently than others. This is a health and safety issue. People won't even, they'll not go out of the house in case they get a cold shot. And it's not fair, it's affecting their mental health, that type of thing. The Green Party view toilet provision as an essential social infrastructure in spite of our public health. In Darlington, Green Party 26, they will not introduce blanket exclusions of transgender individuals. We said that the best solution was to provide safe, private, lockable, single-person rooms, which are acceptable to all. And I really think that, it took Nexus all that time to have a decent security room, never mind toilets. So, we've got to start from day one here and make sure that we have these facilities.
And I just wanted to put something to you, which I also said, which is even North Yorkshire, which is a Conservative authority, and the council's proposed rolling out charges for using the loo of between 40 and 50p per visit. Is that something that you think might help, because we've proposed so much about money being short in those activities?
I think it would certainly, if we had toilets, it would certainly sort of make sure that, there would have to be somebody there as well. And it would ensure that people don't vandalise the place.
Okay, I'll put that question in.
No.
But you don't.
No. Why are we charging for a basic human right? Absolutely not. And total side note, because again I can't speak for South Tyneside, I'm not a councillor on this authority, but it is a firm belief of myself, and it's a belief that's shared across my entire party, that if you haven't got something and you've got a partner that's being really obstructive, it's your local councillor's job to give them a headache so bad that they get so sick of you, they come and sit down and talk to you. And that's it, bottom line. We're elected to represent our residents and we love where we live and we care. It's our job to give, for in Nexus, in your situation Nexus, give them a bad enough headache that other fingers haven't actually realised it's basic human right. Get on with it. If you forgot to put the plumbing in, put your hand in your pocket and just do it. You should have done it in the first place. You created the problem for yourself. But it's a local authority's job to also hold partners accountable, not just work with them, but to stand up to them and say, absolutely not. That's not acceptable either, and we're not going to stand for that for the public. And that's, again, I can't, like I said, not the South Tyneside, but as a Liberal Democrat councillor, that's the fundamental.
Can I just say that you mentioned statutory duty?
Yes.
And because of the situation that the 317 local authorities find themselves in, South Tyneside and a lot of the other town and local authorities are reaching a stage where if it isn't a statutory duty by law, then that's what gets shown. And that's why leisure services are an easy option. We don't have to provide leisure services. We don't have to provide toilets. And so they are the options that if there's cuts being made, that's where they start, because that's easier than having to cut in social services.
Right, let's pause there. I'm going to stop you because we're really having out of time now. But one last task, which is, you will have seen when you came up on the screen, the Million Girls Pledge, from which they'd like each of you to sign up to. You'd love to? That's a full house, thank you very much. I want to say a huge thank you to the three of you, especially. Honestly, I think, if Sunderland ever gets too short on the subject, we'll be all right. So, thank you very, very much for coming. Thank you to the candidates. One last reminder, when our region, the whole region, when last voted for a mayor, combined authorities, only about 1 in 3 people actually went out to vote. So please, use your vote and remember to take your IDs. Thank you very much.
Can we just echo those thanks to all the candidates, and we really appreciate taking the time. I know it's a really busy time just before the local elections. We want to thank our wonderful chair, Jackie, who does so much research before these events. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to our questioners for the brilliant questions, and a huge thank you to WIS. This has just been a lovely venue, and you've made us feel so welcome, and you've done so much work to prepare. So thank you everyone, especially Joy.